Sag, hello, Amanda here. Welcome to Unseen Hands Healing. This is going to be your small story reading for the month of February. So for these readings, I choose a book off the shelf that seems to want to speak to you. I'll turn to a passage at random, read the passage to you, and then we will use cards to extrapolate on that story and message that's coming through. So Sag, today we're looking at this passage from the Puritan Way of Death, a study in religion, culture, and social change. It's a really good book, actually. Pardon me. Bit of a cough. Okay, here we go. In a striking rejection of the Contemptus Mundi tradition, which is essentially talking about someone like the energy of a nun taking the veil, or a priest or a monk going into seclusion away from worldly, earthly endeavors in order to attain a level of spiritual purity. Okay. So in striking rejection of that tradition, Puritan after Puritan would write, as did Richard Sibbes in 1637, that worldly things are good in themselves and given to sweeten our passage to heaven, since this world and the things thereof are all good, and were all made of God for the benefit of his creature. To be sure, excesses, or at least one English Puritan put it, carnal fancies, were not to be tolerated. But in death, as well as in life, the message was clear. He who is not happy before death in worldly things, wrote John Robinson, cannot be happy in them by it. The godly are truly happy both in life and death, the wicked in neither. In turning against Catholic monasticism and otherworldliness, against extreme, if traditional, expressions of the Contemptus Mundi theme, the Puritans did not, of course, cease to yearn for heaven, nor did they question the inferiority of mortal existence or the matter of man's innate depravity. If anything, in many ways, they greatly intensified this vision. But God had created the world, and it was their duty to live in it and to work in it, among sinful as well as saintly men and women, and to live and work with a zeal possible only for those who are convinced they are embarked on a divine mission. Fascinating words coming through here for you, Sag. This energy is really about, the whole book is about understanding like death, the cultural and theological shifts in thinking around death in Western tradition. And so in order to understand death, we're trying to understand the Puritan view of life. And essentially they're saying that if God created the world and all the things in it, all the more reason for us not to separate ourselves from that creation, but rather to engage in it with a sense of divine purpose and divine fervor, which you wouldn't necessarily associate with Puritanism. So that's interesting. And honestly, it speaks to me of Mars and Capricorn. You know, Mars just shifted into Capricorn. Mars, the planet of action. And like, I would say it's like Mars moved from Sagittarius, your sign, into Capricorn. It's like in Sag, Mars got its higher vision aligned with its divine purpose, that sense of like passionate fervor, the overall philosophical idea of why I do what I do, the reason behind it, aligning with that value system, and then moving into Capricorn. Okay, let's engage with the very earthly, worldly energy that's going to help bring that vision to life. That's the energy I'm picking up on. So let's go to the cards. We're looking at the El Goliath Shadow deck here for you, Sag. All right, I'm just shuffling these cards one more time. I'm gonna spread them out and we'll choose 3 at random for you here, Sag. 1, 2, this one wants to come. 3, hi, it's the Lovers, and I saw that as I was shuffling just now. Okay. Very interesting. What have we got? What have we got? Wow. Okay. Sag, I'm feeling like there might be one more card that wants to come through. Just real quick before I show this to you. I'm just splitting the deck, taking the top card. Whoa. Okay. Slightly unexpected based on that reading that came through. Maybe it's some separate messages, or maybe we'll see how they interact. Okay, here's the 3 main cards that came out for you here. The Star card, which in this deck says the Cosmic Guide. So beautiful. The Lovers, another major arcana, the Alchemical Heart. And then the 6 of Swords, a brand new journey. Wow, 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 Sag. And then the 4th card that I felt wanted to come through ended up being this card of karmic release. The Sacred Karmic Deer. Karmic release, there's like a sense of transformation and freedom as this deer releases energy that has been stuck inside, now allowed to fly free and be released. Which is interesting too, because we've got this bird in the 6 of Swords flying, you know, taking its eggs and flying to safety, flying to freedom, flying away from the storms and the fires and the swords and the rough waters into a place where their young can grow up in safety and calmness. Something about flying free. We also have bird energy showing up here with the Lovers through these flamingos. 2 halves of the same heart joining together to form the whole. The balance of yin and yang energy. Making a strong choice is also energy that's associated with the Lovers in order to move on to safety, essentially, to move on to a brand new journey that does not involve this kind of turmoil and drama, but rather leads you into union with yourself, or union with yourself and others, or union with yourself and the environment that you're in, the world that you're in, the work that you're engaged in, whatever it is. It's like you're meeting it head to head, and you're meeting with like minds. You're meeting with people who feel like the other side. I don't believe any like one person completes another person, so that's why I'm finding it hard to access language that I need to describe this. But it's something about coming into union with someone that is like you, or energy outside of you that reflects you accurately. That's how you come into alchemy with the heart. And that's where you're, I think, moving from here. That's where you're trying to get to. Making a choice to move away from like essentially trying to bring up your babies, whatever that is, whether that's like literal for you, or whether that's talking about the work you're trying to release into the world, or just like who you're trying to be in the world, rather than trying to force them to be born or be raised in an environment that is not hospitable. It's like, let's make a choice to go on a brand new journey. Which could be talking about really making a big transition in your life towards coming into harmony with your environment, harmony with yourself, harmony with another. And that's the release. That's the karmic release. It's so interesting too, because I see these cards as having very similar energy, because I often see this as a tree stump And all of the rings in the tree stump, you know how you can count the age of a tree by counting the rings, the lives it has lived. If we're talking about a karmic release, we're essentially talking about this idea that you have lived many lifetimes, Sagittarius. We're subscribing to the framework of reincarnation for this reading. And if you have entered human existence in multiple forms many times over, and making this choice to align with something that is more suited for you, and thus creating alchemy for your heart, is essentially breaking cycles and releasing karma that you have maybe, which is, in my view, energy that you have, your soul has carried with you, that you have perhaps been playing out in multiple lifetimes. Releasing that now, breaking the mold, bursting free. And the star as the cosmic guide is essentially like, that is what you are being guided to do. For those of you who are interested in astrology, I'm associating this with the North Node. It's like, this is how your soul breaks past cycles and moves towards evolution and growth. That seems to be something that's very present for you right now. And I'm wondering exactly how that is tying into, I think it's tying, okay, thank you. I'm getting it. That passage specifically references this idea that moves through many different sects of Christianity and other religions for that matter, that says, like, you may not be happy in this world, and maybe even to the extreme of like, you cannot be happy in this world because of sin. And so you just endure the trials of earthly experience in order to get to some sort of heavenly utopia. Pardon me, gosh. Heavenly utopia where everything's going to then be bliss. It's like you will be rewarded for suffering through this lifetime, one day when you die. And interestingly, the Puritan way of thinking is like, no, actually, if you're not happy in life, you're not going to be happy in death. How do you be happy here? How can you engage with what God has created for you, or the environment, the people, the passions, the pleasures that God has given you on this earth? How can you be happy here? How can you be present here? That is heaven. Many Eastern ideas might point us towards that way of thinking, that understanding what it means to be present is accessing heaven. Many would say transcending worldly pleasures is accessing heaven. But I think the message that's coming through for you, Sag, is that engaging in your environment in a way that makes you happy and accurately reflects what you want, that is heaven. And understanding that and making the clear choice to move towards this kind of union breaks a major cycle for you and helps your soul to become free of past tethers and really evolve now. I just saw 1444 on the clock. New structure. 4s are about structure, new structure. It's a new structure for your soul. Wow. Okay. Sag, we're going over to the Portable Fortitude deck now by Karina Dross. Gorgeous deck. We're going to get you A final card here to wrap up this half of your reading. I'm going to take your reading into an extended now, and we're going to pull cards from other decks to really pull out this energy in a more specific way. This is a general idea of what the energy might be. Let's see if we can get a little more specific and figure out what this situation is that you're choosing to move away from in order to move towards a brand new journey. What does that brand new journey mean for you? And specifically this alchemy of the heart, what does that look like? What does it look like to come into a purification process of like distilling something down to its essence for what is right for you and what accurately reflects you, and how does that break this karmic cycle? So I want to dig into all of that. If that sounds interesting to you, stick around. I'm going to put a preview of that extended reading at the end of this video so that you can see if it's resonating. And if it is, click the link in the description. That'll take you right over to Vimeo where you can view that extended reading instantly. Okay, Sag? So let's get you a little protection card here. What's the final message for Sag in this half of the reading? Final message for Sagittarius in this half of the reading. Okay, one more shuffle, and then I'm just going to split the deck and pick. So interesting. Okay. Splitting the deck. What have we got? Protection from scarcity, Sag. It's beautiful. Protection from this idea that you have to settle. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I placed the deck face up, and the card that's at the bottom is the Joker, and it's protection from delusions. I think this is saying to you, Sag, more bird energy too. Look at that. Bird, bird, bird. Even this is sort of bird energy to me because of the butterflies flying. It's like, what the... Protection from scarcity as the delusion. I think this is what this is saying. This idea that this bird, let's say that these two birds are the same bird. The idea that this bird, this seabird, has to stay there where it is, even if the conditions are terrible, because they might not, if they leave, they might not get anything better. That's scarcity thinking. That's a scarcity way of moving through the world. And I think that you're being encouraged to move towards the cornucopia of abundance, you know, to move away from the place where you have to scrap to get every single berry, and move to the place where, because you are choosing environments, people, work, projects who accurately reflect you. It's like when the two come into harmony, they are able to create together and reproduce. And that's actually what I'm seeing happening in this card right over here. They reproduce 1, 2, 3. You know, it's like there's a sense of increase with their energies united. And that's also, you know, reflected here, that if this bird were to get off of the island, take the boat and get out of here, which it's interesting because the Six of Swords is often depicted as a boat rowing you to safety. It's like the ship is here to take you away from this scarcity, this lack of resources, and into a place of abundance. But it's up to you to make the choice. it's up to you to make the choice to be happy on this side of the veil, you know, like in this dimension. Not just one day in the imagined heaven of one day or someday. Okay, yeah. Big message coming through here, Sag. I'm going to take it into the extended. Maybe I'll see you over on Vimeo, but if not, thank you so much for being here, Sag. If you enjoyed this reading, please click that like button, subscribe to the channel, or leave me a comment. Let me know how it's resonating with you. I'd love to hear from you. Okay. All right, Sag. Talk to you soon. Release. Got karmic release, and then we got release. And it's interesting because in order to make this journey, this transition, to move on into a brand new journey, you've got to release the past in favor of a new structure. And then what else did we get? Yeah, beautiful. Wisdom. Wisdom. There's so much like crown chakra, spiritual, higher energy here. It's like back to that reading in the beginning. If you want like the higher spiritual ideals of heaven, it's like engage with what's truly in front of you here on earth. That is a key to heaven. And that's what I'm seeing as like the opening of this oyster that reveals the pearl of wisdom. Like, oh, that's what it is. And that's the, like that, if that's the pearl, you know, this is the opening. The realization, oh, I get it. Got it. That's how I can work moving forward. That's how I can engage in the world as a human moving forward with this new idea, this new wisdom that's based in abundance.